The air in Rome does not smell of marble and incense. It smells of scorched beans, unwashed wool, and the metallic tang of vinegar-soaked sponges. You aren't here for the triumph or the Senate. You are here because you have just signed away the only thing a Roman truly owns, his legal personhood. Listen to the words of the Sacramentum Gladiatorium. You didn't just join a school. You entered a contract of voluntary slavery. You swore to be burned, to be bound, to be beaten, and to be killed by the sword. From this moment, you are in flames. You exist outside the protection of the law. You are a ghost inhabiting a body that now belongs to the lanista. Most people imagine the ludus, the training school, as a dungeon of mindless brutality. It wasn't. It was a high-stakes investment firm where the capital happened to be human muscle. Think of the lanista not as a movie villain, but as a cold-blooded asset manager. Every scar on your back is a depreciation of his value. Every meal you eat is a calculated overhead cost. He doesn't want you dead, at least not yet. He wants you expensive. Walk through the gates of the Ludus Magnus. The silence here is heavy, broken only by the rhythmic thud of wooden swords, the rudes hitting the palace, a thick wooden post sunk deep into the earth. This post is your first and most honest enemy. You will strike it thousands of times a day under the watchful eye of the doctor, a retired veteran who survived the sand and now bleeds the youth out of you to ensure you don't die too cheaply. The heat is stifling, but the smell is what stays with you. It's the scent of the hordiari, the barley men. Forget the Hollywood image of lean, ripped athletes with chiseled abs. To survive the arena, you need a different kind of armor. You are fed a massive, monotonous diet of barley porridge and broad beans. It's a high-carb regime designed to create a thick layer of subcutaneous fat. Why? Because fat protects the vitals. A shallow cut across a layer of fat looks spectacular. It bleeds profusely, satisfying the bloodlust of 50,000 screaming citizens. But it doesn't sever a muscle or puncture a lung. It allows you to keep fighting. You are being fattened like a calf, not for the feast, but for the theater of safe mutilation. And then there is the tonic. After training, your body is screaming. You aren't given wine or fine oils. You drink a gray, gritty mixture of charred wood, ash, and water. It's the Roman version of a calcium supplement, a desperate attempt to knit your bones back together after the relentless stress of the palace. It tastes like a forest fire, but it's the only thing keeping your frame from collapsing under the weight of the manica, the heavy leather and metal sleeve protecting your sword arm. You are a professional of the highest order, yet socially, you are lower than the dirt on a senator's sandal. This is the paradox of the ludus. You are a superstar in chains. You are the golden cage personified. You spend your nights in a cell 3 paces wide, but your face is painted on the walls of the city. Women of the nobility bribe guards just to touch the hem of your tunic, seeking the gladiator's sweat to mix into their face creams, a literal essence of death and virility. But as the sun sets over the Caelian hill, the glamour vanishes. You sit on the stone floor, your hands shaking from the weight of the shield, picking the grit of the ash tonic out of your teeth. You realize the system hasn't just taken your freedom, it has replaced your soul with a price tag. You are a commodity waiting for the market to open, and the market always demands a sacrifice. The sun over the Ludus Magnus does not rise. It simply reveals the heat that never left the stone. You wake up on a thin mat, the smell of your own sweat from yesterday, stale, sour, and thick, clinging to the walls of a cell that measures barely 4 square meters. This is the material reality of the infames. There is no morning prayer, no breakfast with family. There is only the whistle of the doctor and the immediate crushing weight of your equipment. The routine is a machine designed to grind the hesitation out of a man. You don't just practice fighting. You are engineered into a weapon of specific utility. If you are a murmillo, you are burdened with the chassis Christa, a bronze helmet so heavy it compresses your cervical vertebrae with every step. The vision is restricted to 2 small, grated brass eyes. You breathe your own hot, recycled carbon dioxide. Your world is reduced to a flickering, metallic grid. To your left, a retiarius, the netman, is practicing the flick of the wrist. He is the most hated and most popular of all. Why? Because he has no helmet. He has no shield. He wears only a galeris, a shoulder guard of bronze. He is the effeminate fighter in the eyes of the Roman elite, the one who runs, the one who uses a fisherman's tool to trap a soldier. But the physical burden on him is different. His tension is in the calves, the constant bouncing, the knowledge that a single trip, a single slip on the bloody sand, means a sword through the throat because he has no bronze to hide behind. The ludus is a sensory overload of mechanical precision. You hear the rhythmic clack, clack, clack of wooden rudies against the palace. You are taught the numbers. 1, a thrust to the liver. 2, a slash to the femoral artery. 3, a blunt force strike with the shield boss to the bridge of the nose. You repeat these until your nervous system takes over, until the sword is no longer an object you hold, but a heavy, stinging extension of your own radius and ulna. But the real burden isn't the steel, it's the fat armor. Imagine the psychological toll of the hordiari diet. You are eating massive quantities of barley and beans, not because you are hungry, but because you are being layered. You feel heavy, bloated, and perpetually inflamed. This isn't the lean strength of a hunter. It's the structural mass of a wall. The Roman doctors, followers of Galen, watch you eat. They don't care about your cholesterol. They care about the padding over your ribs. They want the crowd to see the blade disappear into your flesh and hear the gasp of the audience. Only for you to stay standing because the steel never reached the intercostal muscle. You are a canvas for spectacular, non-lethal bleeding. Between the training sessions, there is the medicus. The medical care in the ludus is the best in the ancient world, better than what a free baker or a common legionnaire would receive. Why? Because you are a Ferrari in a stable of mules. If you pull a tendon, you are treated with expensive salves and hot compresses. If you break a bone, it is set with the precision of a master craftsman. But this care is the ultimate insult. It is the care a carpenter gives to a stool. They aren't healing you. They are repairing the lanista's property. You stand there naked and dripping with the ash tonic, while a slave scrapes the strigil across your skin to collect the swords. The mixture of sweat, oil, and dead skin. This waste is bottled and sold outside the gates to Roman matrons, who believe it contains the essence of courage. You are being harvested while you are still alive. The routine ends not with rest, but with the Cena Libera, the free banquet, on the eve of the games. This is the most psychological cruelty of all. The doors of the ludus are thrown open. The public is allowed to walk among you while you eat a lavish, final meal. They stare at you like you are a caged beast. They place bets while you are chewing your meat. They look into your eyes, trying to see if you have the death shadow on your face. You sit there, surrounded by fine wine and roasted meats you haven't tasted in months, and you realize the trap is complete. The city that adores you is the same city that is salivating at the thought of your blood wetting the sand tomorrow. You aren't a hero. You aren't a villain. You are a professional entertainer whose only remaining duty is to die with enough technical proficiency to make the ticket price worth it. The routine has broken your will, but it has hardened your hands. You look at the man sitting across from you, your brother in the ludus, the man who helped you bind your wounds an hour ago. And you realize that tomorrow, the system might demand you drive 6 inches of cold iron into his chest. And you will do it. Not because you hate him, but because the doctor taught you that a clean kill is the only dignity a ghost has left. The ludus is not a brotherhood, it is a hierarchy of the damned. To the cheering crowds in the stands, you are all just gladiators. But inside these walls, the social stratification is as sharp as a Thracian Sika. At the top are the veterani, the men who have tasted the sand 10, 20 times and lived to tell of it. They walk with a heavy, deliberate silence. They don't brag. They don't look at the newcomers, the Tyrones, because to them, a recruit is just a corpse that hasn't started stinking yet. Why learn the name of a man who will likely be dragged out of the arena by a slave dressed as Karen before the sun hits its zenith? This is the psychological trap of the Roman system. The closer you get to being a god, the more you realize you are nothing. You are the ultimate paradox of the empire. You are infames, legally equivalent to a prostitute or an actor, meaning you can be whipped without cause and your testimony is worthless in a court of law. Yet your face is reproduced on oil lamps. Your name is scratched into the walls of the Subura by starstruck teenagers, and the emperor himself knows your kill-to-death ratio better than he knows his own tax grain figures. The social rules of the ludus are enforced not just by the lanista, but by the sacramentum you swore. This wasn't a simple contract, it was a religious surrender. By swearing to be burned, bound, beaten, and killed, you effectively committed social suicide to gain a terrifying kind of freedom. In the outside world, a Roman citizen is bound by the mos maiorum, the ancestral customs, the duty to family, the constant pressure of dignity. But for you, you have no dignity left to lose. You have already accepted death. That makes you the most dangerous thing in Rome, a man with nothing but his technique. But don't mistake this for rebellion. The system is too clever for that. The trap is built on the honor of the blade. The Romans didn't just want to see people die, they wanted to see them die well. This is the virtues, the masculine courage, that the soft, pampered citizens in the front rows lacked. They came to watch you because you provided a moral lesson in how to face the inevitable. If you fought bravely, if you showed no fear when the Polacks turned against you, you weren't just a slave. You were a philosopher of the flesh. The contradiction is suffocating. You are trained to be a cold-blooded killer, yet you are bound by a strict code of professional ethics. You are taught never to strike a fallen opponent unless the editor of the games signals it. You are taught to hold your position, to maintain the line of beauty, even while your blood is slicking the sand. If you win, you aren't rewarded with freedom, not usually. You are rewarded with a palm branch and perhaps a silver bowl of coins, only to be marched back to your 4-meter cell. The lanista takes his cut first. He always takes his cut. And then there is the hidden hierarchy of the armaments. The secutor is the chaser, the heavy tank designed to hunt the retiarius. There is a deep, unspoken resentment between these classes. The secutor wears the smooth, egg-shaped helmet designed so the net won't catch on it, but it also makes him nearly blind and deaf. He is a prisoner of his own armor. He hates the retiarius for his mobility, for his lightness, for the way he dances away. The ludus feeds this friction. They want you to have a slight edge of genuine anger when you face each other. It makes for better theater. The most quiet, most terrifying trap, however, is the family of the blade. Many gladiators formed collegia, burial clubs. You paid a small portion of your winnings into a communal pot. Why? So that when you were finally killed, your brothers could buy your body from the lanista and give you a proper headstone. Even in death, you are trapped by the ludus. Your only hope for a name that outlives your breath is a piece of cheap stone paid for by the men who were being trained to kill you. You look at the golden cage and realize the bars aren't made of iron. They are made of the very fame that sustains you. You are loved by a city that demands your extinction. You are a hero of the Republic who cannot walk the streets as a man. You are the infames, the elite of the gutter, waiting for the system to decide if your asset value is higher as a living performer or a dead example of Roman stoicism. Beyond the walls of the ludus lies the grand, cold machinery of the Roman state. You are not just a fighter. You are a cog in a massive political engine fueled by blood and entertainment. The games, the Munera, were never just about sport. They were the emperor's contract with the mob. Bread in circuses is a cliché, but for you, it is a structural reality. You are the circus, the high-voltage distraction that keeps a million hungry, volatile citizens from burning the Palatine Hill to the ground. The power structure behind you is absolute. At the top sits the editor, the sponsor of the games, often the emperor himself or a high-ranking magistrate seeking votes. To him, you are a line item in a budget. He doesn't see your scars. He sees the value per death. If the crowd is bored, his popularity drops. If you die too quickly, he has wasted thousands of sesterces. This is why the referees, the summa rudis, are so vital. They aren't there for fairness in the modern sense. They are there to ensure the product is delivered. They poke you with wooden rods if you hesitate. They reset the fight if it becomes a stalemate. They are the directors of a snuff film played out in real time. Consider the legal machinery that owns your breath. The lex pugnandi, the law of the fight, dictates exactly how you must behave. You are caught in a system that celebrates the just killing of the unjust. Even though you are a professional, the Romans categorized the arena as a place of execution for the noxiae, criminals, and the captivi, prisoners of war. By being a gladiator, you are the elite executioner who is also, potentially, the next victim. The system blurs the line between a hero and a condemned man so effectively that the audience feels a divine right to decide your fate with a single gesture of the hand. And then there is the technical reality of the polis verso. Forget the simple thumbs down of the movies. The system was more nuanced and more terrifying. The thumb was likely turned, twisted, or pointed toward the chest, a mimicry of the sword stroke to the heart. When the crowd screams, "Jugula, throat him!" they aren't just expressing an opinion. They are exercising the only democratic power they have left in an autocracy. The emperor grants them the power over your life to make them feel like masters of the world, even if they are living in a squalid, one-room insula. Your death is the tribute paid to keep the peace of the empire. The lanista, your owner, is the middleman in this grand exploitation. He is a social pariah, yet he dines with senators because he holds the keys to the city's stability. He negotiates rental agreements for your life. If you survive a fight, he gets a fee. If you are killed, the editor must pay him the replacement value, a sum often 50 times higher than the rental. This creates a hidden tension in the arena. The lanista is whispering in the editor's ear, "Spare him, he's a crowd favorite," while the crowd is screaming for your blood. You are a high-stakes poker chip in a game played by men who will never feel the weight of a helmet. The grand machinery extends even to the way you are disposed of. If the thumb turns against you, the system demands a final performance, the clean kill. You are taught to kneel, to look your opponent in the eye, and to offer your throat or your heart without flinching. This is the ratio, the technical perfection of death. If you die well, the editor's brand is enhanced. If you struggle or beg, you shame the school, the lanista, and the emperor. The system has reached so far into your psyche that it has trained you to participate in your own destruction with professionalism. You are a slave to the sand, a servant to the mob, and a financial asset to the lanista. The ludus is just a small room inside a much larger prison called Rome. The stone walls of the Colosseum are designed to amplify the sound of 50,000 people, but they are also designed to keep the reality of your humanity from leaking out. In this system, you are only human when you are bleeding. The rest of the time, you are just Roman property, waiting for the emperor's whim to turn into your final command. The echo is not found in the roar of the crowd, but in the silence that follows the final stroke. When the sand of the arena is raked clean for the next show, where does the memory of the infames go? It goes into a shallow grave or a communal pit, unless you were one of the lucky few who survived long enough to earn the rudies, the wooden sword that signifies a return to a freedom that no longer knows what to do with you. The deepest human cost of the ludus was the systematic stripping of the self. By the time a gladiator was granted his discharge, he was a man reconstructed by trauma and barley. His joints were swollen with the damp of the barracks, his lungs scarred by the dust of the pit, and his mind permanently tuned to the frequency of a predator. Many who won their freedom found they couldn't live in the soft world of bakers and tanners. They returned to the ludus as doctores, passing on the same cycle of violence to the next generation of barley men. They became the ghosts, haunting the very walls that once caged them. We look back at the Colosseum today and see a monument of engineering, a wonder of the ancient world. But we rarely look at it as a factory. It was a factory that processed human life into a fleeting emotion for a bored public. The modern resonance isn't just in our love for combat sports or violent cinema. It's in the commodification of the body. The gladiator was the first true superstar whose physical suffering was a literal currency. The Roman elite bought your sweat, the mob bought your blood, and the emperor bought your silence. There is a haunting piece of graffiti found in the barracks at Pompeii. It doesn't speak of glory or the gods. It simply names a gladiator and his number of victories. Beside it, a small tally of the men he killed. It is a ledger of a life spent as an asset. The tragedy isn't that they died. It's that they were never allowed to be anything other than a performance. Even their most intimate moments, their fear, their pain, their final breath, were scripted by a system that demanded they remain masks until the very end. The Pollux has long since turned down for the Roman Empire, but the machinery remains. Whenever we demand that a human being sacrifice their health, their dignity, or their reality for our 3 seconds of scrolling entertainment, we are sitting in the front row of the ludus magnus. We are the editors of a digital arena, and the infames are still out there, fattening themselves on the barley of our attention, waiting for the signal to bleed. The gladiator's reality was a golden cage, where the bars were made of fame and the floor was made of bone. They were the most famous nobodies in history. And as you walk away from the ruins of the arena, remember this. The Romans didn't just watch the games to see men die. They watched to see if, in the face of absolute systemic cruelty, a human being could still maintain a shred of professional grace. The ghost of the Hordiari still whispers in the ash tonic. I was here. I was a professional. And for a moment, under the burning sun of the empire, I was the only thing that was real.